A Day at the Beach. Chapter 1. The Plan. The sun was just beginning to rise over Maplewood, a sleepy coastal town on the Oregon coast. The light touched the tops of the tall pines and glimmered against the water in long, golden bands. In a small blue house on Seaview Avenue, 14-year-old Olivia Bennett was sitting cross-legged on her bed, staring at her phone. Saturday. Finally, she had been waiting for this day all week. Her family's annual beach day. It was the one day every summer when nobody had to work, nobody had to clean, and nobody worried about money or chores. Her mom, Dana, was already up making sandwiches. Her dad, Paul, was in the garage rummaging through the cooler and folding chairs. Olivia's little brother, Evan, was darting around in his dinosaur swim trunks, even though it was only 7 a.m. "Liv," Evan called. "Hurry up, we gotta go." She smiled and set her phone aside. Today would be perfect. Chapter 2. Packing the car. They had a routine. Every year, they packed the same things. A cooler filled with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, string cheese, carrot sticks, and cans of sparkling water. A folded beach umbrella that never stayed upright in the sand. A bag stuffed with sunscreen, old towels, and a tangle of snorkels and goggles. Paul tied the boogie boards to the roof rack, glancing over at his wife. "Did you get the sunblock?" he asked. 3 bottles, Dana said, and aloe gel, just in case. Evan ran back inside to grab his metal detector, a birthday gift he had been dying to try out. Olivia climbed into the back seat, pressing her face against the glass. The sky was brightening, and she could already smell the salt in the air. "Ready?" Paul asked as he started the engine. "Ready," everyone chorused. And with that, they pulled away from the driveway, the car loaded with everything they needed for a perfect day. Chapter 3. The Arrival. The drive took less than 20 minutes, winding through the wooded road that led to Moonlight Beach. They parked in the same spot as always, near the weathered driftwood fence. As soon as the doors opened, Evan tumbled out and sprinted toward the dunes, waving his metal detector. "Stay where we can see you," Dana called, though she knew he wouldn't go far. Olivia took a deep breath. The ocean stretched out in front of them, endless and bright. The waves crashed in steady, rhythmic bursts, and gulls wheeled overhead, crying out their hungry calls. Paul unloaded the car, while Dana spread a blanket on the sand. "I'm gonna walk down by the water," Olivia said. "Take your sandals," her mom called. But Olivia was already barefoot, feeling the cool grains slip between her toes. Chapter 4. Early morning. The tide was low, leaving behind tide pools that glistened like little mirrors. Olivia bent down to look at a tiny purple starfish clinging to a rock. A crab skittered away as she moved her hand. This was her favorite part of coming early, before the crowds showed up. She could pretend she was the only person in the world. Evan's voice carried down the beach. "Mom, Dad, I think I found treasure." Olivia turned and watched as her brother dug furiously into the sand. Her parents walked over, smiling. When she rejoined them, Evan held up an old bottle cap and a rusty nail. "Wow," Olivia said, hiding a grin. "Ancient artifacts." "It's something," Evan insisted, brushing sand off his hands. Paul ruffled his hair. "Keep looking. Maybe there's pirate gold buried out here." Evan's eyes lit up. "Yeah, pirates!" And he ran off again, metal detector humming. Chapter 5. A Moment Alone. Olivia wandered away from the others, feeling the sun start to warm her shoulders. She dug her toes into the damp sand and closed her eyes. Sometimes she felt like she didn't belong anywhere. Too old to play in the sand with Evan, too young to be interested in the grown-up conversations her parents had. But here, at the edge of the waves, she felt just right. She picked up a piece of driftwood and traced her name in the sand. Olivia. A seagull landed a few feet away, cocking its head curiously. She tossed it a piece of crust from her pocket, and it snatched it up before flying away. She imagined what it would be like to fly over the ocean, free and unbothered, for a while, She let herself pretend she could. Chapter 6. The Sandcastle. By late morning, more families were arriving. Umbrellas bloomed across the sand like bright flowers. Evan returned to the blanket with flushed cheeks. "Can we build a sandcastle?" he asked. "Sure," Paul said, standing up and brushing off his shorts. "Liv, you in?" Olivia hesitated. Then she smiled. "Yeah, let's do it." They worked together, piling damp sand into a mound. Evan insisted they needed a moat, and Olivia carved little windows in the walls. Paul found seashells to decorate the towers. Dana took pictures, laughing as Evan tried to balance a crab shell on the highest turret. For a moment, Olivia forgot all the things she worried about. Starting high school in the fall, whether her friends would still like her, whether she would ever figure herself out. Here with her family, none of that mattered. Chapter 7. Lunch on the blanket. When the sun was high overhead, Dana called them back to the blanket. They ate their sandwiches with sandy fingers. Olivia leaned against her mom's shoulder as they watched the waves. "Remember when you were little?" Dana asked. "You were scared to even touch the water." "I was not," Olivia protested, though she knew it was true. Evan grinned. "You were a baby." She stuck her tongue out at him, and he made a face back. Paul opened a can of sparkling water and raised it like a toast. "To the best day of the year," he said. They all clinked their cans and took a sip. Chapter 8. The Waves. After lunch, Olivia and Evan took their boogie boards to the shallows. The water was icy at first, making Olivia gasp. But after a few minutes, she didn't feel the cold anymore. They paddled out past where the waves broke, then waited for the perfect swell. "Here comes one," Evan yelled. They kicked furiously, catching the wave just as it curled. Olivia felt the board lift under her, carrying her all the way back to shore. For a moment, she felt weightless. She laughed as she tumbled off the board into the foam. Evan popped up beside her, triumphant. "Did you see how far I went?" "You're getting good," she said, pushing wet hair off her face. They spent the next hour catching wave after wave until their arms were tired and their skin was pink from the sun. Chapter 9. Searching for shells. Later, when the tide began to go out, Olivia wandered down the beach with her mom. They collected smooth stones and scallop shells, slipping them into a canvas bag. "Do you remember when we used to glue these onto picture frames?" Dana asked. Olivia nodded. "I still have the one I made when I was 6. Her mom smiled. "I love that you remember." They walked in companionable silence, the wind tugging at their hair. Olivia felt a little older today, a little more sure of herself. Maybe growing up wasn't so scary after all. Chapter 10. The Lost Necklace. When they got back to the blanket, Evan was near tears. "What's wrong?" Olivia asked. "My shark tooth necklace. It's gone." He held up the empty string. Olivia knew how much it meant to him. The necklace had been a gift from their grandfather before he passed away. She knelt in front of him. "We'll find it, okay?" "But it's gone," Evan sniffed. "Not if we look." Together, they retraced his steps across the sand. Dana and Paul joined in, scanning the ground. Finally, near the edge of the dunes, Olivia spotted something glinting in the sunlight. She reached down and held up the necklace, the little white tooth still attached. "Got it?" Evan flung his arms around her waist. "Thank you," he whispered. Chapter 11. The Ice Cream Truck. As afternoon turned to evening, an ice cream truck pulled into the parking lot. The music drifted across the sand, making every kid perk up. "Please?" Evan begged, eyes wide. Paul laughed. "All right, one treat each." They stood in line with the other families, breathing in the warm scent of waffle cones. Olivia chose a chocolate-dipped cone. Evan got a rocket pop. They sat on the blanket, eating slowly as the sun sank lower in the sky. It was the sweetest moment of the day. Chapter 12. Sunset. By the time the ice cream was gone, the beach was nearly empty. Olivia walked to the edge of the water one last time. The sky was streaked with pink and gold, the waves turning dark as night approached. She felt something quiet settle inside her, a kind of peace she didn't know she'd been searching for. Behind her, she heard her father's voice. "Ready to go live?" She turned and nodded. "One more minute?" "Of course," he said. She stood there, letting the waves lick at her toes. Chapter 13, The Ride Home. They packed up the car in the dark, their skin still salty and warm. Evan fell asleep before they even reached the highway, his head on Olivia's shoulder. Dana turned in her seat to look back at her daughter. "Good day?" "The best," Olivia said softly. Paul reached over to squeeze Dana's hand. They drove the rest of the way in comfortable silence, the ocean disappearing behind them. But Olivia knew it would be waiting, just as it always had been. Chapter 14, A Memory to Keep. That night, after they carried Evan to bed and put the cooler away, Olivia sat on her bedroom floor. She emptied the canvas bag onto the rug. Shells, stones, and a piece of driftwood shaped like a heart. She laid them out in a line and took a picture with her phone. Later, she would print it and tuck it into the journal she kept hidden in her drawer. A reminder that no matter how much life changed, there were days like this. Days full of salt and sunlight, laughter and love. Days when she felt exactly where she was meant to be.